Hi friends. Oh my god, I forgot I had makeup on my hands. Let's try that again. Hey friends, it's me, Dee Preshun, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as you saw by the title of today's video, we are going to be talking about the Boulet Brothers Dragula. We are going to call it Dee's Dragula. What did I say I was going to call it? Dee's Dragula Digest. Boom. Alliteration for all of you grammar people out there. Sorry, I'm like low-key high right now, so don't mind me. Anyway, let's jump right into it. We're gonna start with season 4, episode 1. So, first of all, can we just talk about the little intro skit? The Boulets always bring it with these little intro skits. Every single season, every single episode, every time, there is always an awesome skit to open the episode. And this one was just like, you could tell the production value was just going to be chef's kiss this season. Because, oh my god! But also, when they kind of went into and they kind of like promoted their masks, I really wish I had gotten their masks after watching that. But the way that they kind of promoted their masks by saying that their masks turn them into killers, and I love how they tie it in at the end of the episode by making them the killers, or kind of like them ganging up on the people that are getting exterminated. I really loved that. Like, that was a really cool thing that they tied into the episode. So that was really, really cool. Also, can we just talk about how this prize is $100,000, and how the fact that the Boulet brothers were like, courtesy of us. Like, they got that money, bitch. They got that money. Like, oh my god. I was blown away. $100,000 on Boulet Brothers Dragula. We've come a long way in 4 seasons. Okay, so now that we finished talking about the intro and the Boulet brothers, let's talk about these queens. Now, the first queen that we meet is Mary Cherry, and you could tell she was very, very nervous going into this, which I'm like, girl, why you sign up for Boulet Brothers Dragula if you don't like being scared? Like,
I don't understand. I don't understand, bitch. I don't understand.
but anyway, and then we meet Astrid Aurelia, which I have been following Astrid for a while, and I'm a huge fan of Astrid, so I was super excited to see Astrid on this season. I knew that Astrid was gonna bring it, so I was super, super excited. Next, we had Zavaleta. We ain't gonna talk about her. Anyway, next we had Coco Kane. I love Coco Kane, okay? Coco Kane cracks me the fuck up because everybody's like cutting up and carrying on, and Coco's just sitting there in the background just making her little facial expressions, like tucking the hair in behind the ear like she has it. Like, I live for Coco Kane, okay? Love Coco Kane. Obsessed. Love her. But also, like, when Coco walked into the room and like didn't really acknowledge Zavaleta, and then Zavaleta was just kind of like, hello, like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, calm down. She just walked through the door. Calm down. Next we had Bitter Betty. I adore Bitter Betty. Like, she has the cutest personality, and also we live for a transgender performer. Next we had Jade Jolie. Now, when I tell you I was super surprised to hear that Jade Jolie was going to be on Dragula, I was like,
Wait a damn minute.
if this is the same Jade Jolie from RuPaul's Drag Race, what the fuck is she doing on Dragula? Because very different shows. And if I remember Jade Jolie from RuPaul's Drag Race, she was some like little rainbow twink bitch So how do we get here is what I was trying to figure out. Sorry if there's a lot of snoring in the background. He's being a little too sweet and too nice, like a little too like unicorns, rainbows, like everything's great. I love Dragula, everyone's getting along. Like, I'm just over that. Like, give me the drama, bitch. Next, we had Hoso Teratoma. I have also been following Hoso Teratoma for several months before the cast for Dragula this season was even announced. And I screamed when I found out that Hoso was gonna be on this season, because I knew that Hoso was gonna fucking kill it. And she has been. She has been slaying the fucking game, showing the world who Hoso Teratoma is, bitch. Next, we had my girl, my fellow AFAB queen, Sigourney Beaver, my girl. I love her, and I honestly have the fattest crush on her. Honestly, her and Betty. I have the fattest crush on the two of them. Whew. I'll say, her entrance did kind of piss me off because Mary kind of ruined that moment for her. Because Mary had to make the moment all about her, and how Sigourney just went like straight over to Betty because she knew Betty. And obviously, like, if you're in a room full of people that you don't know and you see somebody that you do know, you're gonna beeline for that person. But Mary was just being kind of like, she was just being shady, and it was unnecessary, very unnecessary. So Mary and Zavaleta are on my shit list for this season thus far. Like, I do not like either one of them. Next, we had Formaldehyde, and I have also been following Formaldehyde since before the announcing of season 4 cast. I was super excited to see Formaldehyde on this cast. And then lastly, we had our winner of Dragula Resurrection, Saint, and of course, walked in looking opulent as hell. Like, oh bitch, she looked good. Okay, so now all the queens are there. They've gotten to know each other. They know each other's names. They're ready to start this competition. The Boulets make their introduction wearing these beautiful gowns that look like a wave of blood, and I am obsessed with these gowns. I will say, the haunted house seemed kind of, minus the little car, or like the truck, was kind of like, really? That's it? Like, it just didn't seem too extreme. I will say the whole, like, dropping them, like the whole thing where they were like in those little, like, locker things and then they dropped them backwards, that was pretty insane. I really just felt like for season 4, it should have been a little bit more intense, you know? Like, it was kind of just like, oh, okay. Like, that's just kind of how I felt about it. But I will say the whole car situation with Astrid was really hard to watch, knowing that she has that PTSD from the past experience. That spinning room at the end, that was pretty intense, only because Sigourney fell. I was kind of worried about her. Now we get to the boudoir, and the boudoir this season, it is so fancy. That little like coffin-shaped table that they all gather around for their little kiki. Like, I want that table. I want that as a dining room table. I want a coffin-shaped dining room table. So, as they're kikiing around this casket table that I absolutely adore, Zava fucking Letta. I really don't like this bitch. I think Betty said it the best. It's not necessarily that she's a bitch, it's that she's young and immature. She said later on in the episode that life made her this bitch. Yes, life may have made you that bitch, and you might have to be that bitch back at home. But there's times where you have to turn that bitch off and be a nice person. You can't be a bitch all the time. I do want to say, her calling Astrid a pussy for the whole truck situation, I did not think that was okay at all. Like, that was kind of like the really deciding factor for me on Zavaleta. That like the fact that you're gonna call her a pussy when she literally has PTSD, and like the comment that she said, well, I have trauma too, bitch, but you don't have trauma related to that. You didn't have your trauma thrown in your face on national television. Like, shut the f up. But her just being a bitch in general that entire time, like, wouldn't let anyone talk, always had a snide remark, like, just shut up and let people talk. Like, you don't have to be a bitch all the time. You don't have to talk all the time. Like, you don't have to be the center of attention. Like, this is not a who can be the biggest bitch competition. This is a competition to see who can be the next drag super monster. Gotta say, the little romance that's sparking between Hoso and Astrid is quite cute. Then all the queens are starting to get ready for the floor show. Some of them kind of start to talk about what characters they're going to be doing. And then it cuts to the next day where they're actually getting ready for the floor show, like painting their faces, the whole thing. And Sigourney goes over to Betty and basically just says that she's very thankful to have another female in the competition. She kind of shared her experiences being a female in drag, and that's why she was thankful to have Betty there. And, you know, Betty did say that, you know, being a trans woman in drag is very different than being a cis woman in drag. But, you know, obviously there are a lot of, you know, overlapping things, but they are still very different. It is difficult being somebody who was born female, being in drag. A lot of people feel like I should not be doing drag. A lot of people, when I've gone out in drag before, think that I'm just playing dress up. They don't actually think that I'm a legitimate drag artist. And they don't take me seriously. And it's annoying. But it's the reality of females in drag. The more upsetting thing is that trans women aren't accepted in the drag community. I've never really understood why trans women are not like fully accepted in the drag community when they're the ones that kind of brought it to the community. But you know what? White men are gonna ruin everything, even in the gay community. Moving on to floor show. I am obsessed with the structure of the floor show this season because I like how the Boulets' entrance is more like they get to showcase their looks a little bit more, like almost like they're part of the floor show this season. And I really love that because the Boulets have beautiful, amazing looks, and I feel like in the past you kind of just get to see them in the judging seats and you're just like, okay, you know, that's cool, but like to be able to see them really perform and to show off those looks the way that they have been this season has been so exciting. Looks that they're wearing for this episode, full latex fantasy, just absolutely stunning, and I really think that this look might be my favorite look that the Boulets have worn ever. Like, I absolutely love it. It's like trademark Boulets latex red and black, absolutely amazing, and I loved it. Okay, so first up for the floor show we had Hoso Teratoma, and she did Other Mother from Coraline, and oh my god, I am obsessed with this look. The fact that she made it almost like just very insect-like, like really focused on that aspect of the Other Mother, and the fact that she just covered it in buttons, and like it just fit her makeup so well. I'm obsessed with this look, absolutely obsessed. I think that it was really creative of her to do an animated character because nobody else did that. It was just absolutely awesome. Next up was Jade as Sarah Sanderson, but she had kind of made Sarah into more of like a filthy witch, just kind of filthy, gross witch, which I loved because I wasn't expecting that from Jade. It was kind of like typical Jade being a character like Sarah Sanderson, but also bringing Dragula to it, where she was eating those worms and like just making it really filthy and gross and disgusting. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised by Jade. Like, I was not expecting that kind of performance out of her, but she really gave it on that stage. Next, we had Saint as the murderer from the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and I gotta say, I'm obsessed. Like, it was giving very much like, almost like Ed Gein vibes. If you don't know who Ed Gein was, he was a serial killer that would collect trophies of his victim's skin, and he would use them in his house. Like, he would make like lampshades out of them. He made a belt out of the nipples of some of his victims, like things like that. It really reminded me of Ed Gein in that sense of like making the apron out of the skin of his victims and like all of that kind of stuff, and the mask. Like, I loved that. And obviously the performance was incredible. Saint has always been an incredible performer, so Saint did an incredible job. Next, we had Astrid, and she did the xenomorph from Aliens. This look was so awesome, and I really think that it was not only the tail, but also how it was just kind of like biker, but like futuristic alien. It was like, it was very creative. And she did an incredible job with it. She definitely took the character but made it her own. And that tail, the fact that it was like functioning where she could like flick it around and it didn't break, like that was really cool. It's one thing to wear a costume like that, but it's another thing to be able to perform in that costume, and she blew both of those things out of the park. She was incredible. Definitely a well-deserved win. Next, we had Sigourney as the Bride of Frankenstein, and we had a reveal to end all reveals, bitch. She comes out in this cheetah print coat that I was like, okay, bitch, I see you, like, playing it a little bit safe. And then she takes that thing off, and the way that she does it, just like, she knows how to make a performance with a reveal. Like, she just very slowly kind of like dropped the coat, and the next thing we know, she's got pasties on with bolts on her titties. Like, I could not handle that. Like, it was so good. And even though the look was incredible, I think the performance was here and the look was kind of like here. So I think if the look had just stepped up a little bit more, if she had made it like maybe a little bit bloodier, like a little bit filthier, I honestly feel like it could have been right there. But man, that was an awesome reveal, and she did it so well. Next was Mary, and she did the Marshmallow Man. I was not wild about Mary's look. I felt like it was a little too close to the original. Like, I didn't really feel like she did anything special with the Marshmallow Man. Like, yeah, it was a little bit more campy, but it still was just, you know? Like, I didn't really feel anything cool about it, you know? And her performance wasn't all that great either. She was spitting mini marshmallows out of her mouth. Like, it wasn't, I didn't find it that great. I honestly thought that she should have been in the bottom. But that's how I felt. Next was Zavaleta with the Pale Man. I gotta say, the costume itself was really disgusting and gross. And it definitely, like, you noticed that it was the Pale Man. However, never once in her entire performance did we see this. Never once. And that's like the quintessential Pale Man look. Like, you've got to have the eyeballs on the face. Like, that has to be part of your performance. And maybe they cut that out, but I feel like they wouldn't have cut that out if that was, you know, a quintessential part of your performance and a part of that character, you know? So I was very surprised not to see this from her. Next we had Formaldehyde doing Billy the Puppet. But as like a nurse, I wasn't really sure what the concept was. Like I got definitely that she was inspired by Billy the Puppet. Like I got that with the mask and the swirls on the cheeks. But the whole nurse aspect of it didn't really make sense to me. But also, of course, they had to get her for the Club Kid boots because they hate the Club Kid boots. They hate them. And I knew as soon as, like, honestly, when Formaldehyde walked into the competition wearing Club Kid boots, I was like, oh no, this bitch is going home. Like, I just knew, and I felt bad because I'm like, man, this bitch is gonna be so good, but they're not even gonna care because she's wearing Club Kid boots. Ah! Next was Coco, and she did Morticia Addams, and I have to say, I adored her version of Morticia Addams. I love that she is taking all of these, you know, typically white characters and making them black and like putting her own spin on it. Like I loved that. And that rose that she had full of blood and she was pouring it all over herself. The braids, bitch. The inches. Are you kidding me? I was dead. It was so good. Like I loved every second of her performance and that costume was everything. I loved it. And lastly, we had Betty, who did Elvira, but she did more of like the true demon mistress of the dark version of Elvira, and the attention to detail was just absolutely wonderful. Like she is an incredible seamstress and incredible conceptual designer, but it was too similar to Elvira. And I don't think it's fair that she was in the bottom 3 instead of Mary for that reason, because I felt like Mary's was closer to the Marshmallow Man than hers was to Elvira. So after the judges deliberated, they decided that Formaldehyde and Zavaleta were going to be the bottom 2, and they were going to be up for extermination. And the extermination challenge was to get buried alive, which that's a big no from me. Like I don't want to get buried alive. Like that's one of my biggest fears. So props to them for making it through. But they finally get to the extermination and they got them down in their little coffins. I will say the coffins were very spacious, so I feel like that would have helped in my situation, because for me it's the claustrophobia that would have really set in. So I think like having a little bit more space would have made me feel a little bit more comfortable. And it seemed like they like filled up the whole hole. So it seemed like they had quite a bit of space. But they filled the hole with like crickets and like mealworms and superworms, and they splashed water in their faces. Like they did all sorts of stuff while they were inside that poor hole. The snoring. They just tortured them while they were inside that hole. But I will say, like, for Zavaleta to, as much as I hate that bitch, for her to have gone through that after she had just buried her sister, that spoke volumes to me. Like, that would have been really hard for me to have gone through after just having buried somebody very close to me. That would have been all I was thinking about the whole time. Unfortunately, Formaldehyde was exterminated at the end of the episode. I have to agree, just because between her and Zavaleta, even though Zavaleta's performance was not the best because her pump was not really working and she didn't do the whole, you know, hands on the eyes, for the pale man, Formelda's look just didn't really make sense. Like Billy the Puppet as a nurse, like it didn't really follow through, and with the Club Kid boots, it was just like boom boom, 3 strikes you're out kind of thing. And I do I do agree with the decision in the end, even though I hate Zavaleta, and I know that formaldehyde has so much potential and had so much more to show in the competition. I do ultimately feel like it was the best decision. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below, how did you feel about formaldehyde going home? What were your favorite looks? Let me know all the things. Kiki in the comments below. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed Dee's, what did I call this show? And that's all I have for today for Dee's Dragula Digest. I hope you enjoyed, and we will be back next week for episode 3. I'm not gonna do episode 2 because I did like a little watch party, so most of the people that I feel like are gonna watch this video were watching the watch party and already heard my reaction to everything. So I'm not gonna do episode 2, I'm gonna skip to episode 3, and we'll have that up next week. So be on the lookout for that. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out, and leave a comment down below for videos that you guys want to see in the future, whether it be reviewing more episodes of Dragula or reviewing RuPaul's Drag Race, whatever you guys want to see. I am willing to do whatever. I love to review things. But like I said, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful night or day, wherever you are in this beautiful, wonderful world. I love you all very dearly, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Mwah! Bye.